Bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba bum ba-da-dum dum 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 bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum ba-da ba-ba-dum da 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 ba da 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 bum ba da 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 ba bum bum bum. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Hello, my mighties, and hello, Facebook people. Hello. Oh, I love to see everyone coming in. It is so much fun. And let me see if I can get this to show more people. I want to be able to. Here we go. Oop, there I am singing. Hello. There's a little uh, backdrop that keeps coming back in again. Alrighty, so hello from South Carolina, Clover, South Carolina. What that sounds like a very pretty place. Howdy from Texas and Bel Air Beach. And here we go. Let me expose the chat a little bit better. Here we go. And here we go. Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Joette Calabrese, and I am here every Monday at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I'm here for one thing, and one thing only, and that is to teach you, because that's what I am. I'm a homeopath, and I teach homeopathy. And so for those of you who don't know anything about homeopathy, join in. The water's just right. It's perfect for learning. You're going to learn a ton, I promise you. And you will, tonight's going to be a particularly, I talk about this remedy a lot, but I wanted to touch on it a little bit further. So you're all looking good on this March evening, heading into the most sacred time of the year for Christians. We're heading in. It's pretty exciting time of the year. I love this time of year. I like what it forces me to do. I like the way it makes me think. I like the prayers that I adhere to. Not as much as I should, but I still do it. And so I hope it finds you in that state of mind where we can unite with our Lord. And so here we go. Let's talk. So we're going to talk tonight about, I have it written here. Where are we? Want to know the ultimate medicine for viruses? Oh, blasphemy. Like or the flu or a chest cold or other such conditions. And so this medicine I've talked about so much in the last couple of years for obvious reasons, but I want to give you a slightly different take because I talked to a friend of mine in India today. I haven't talked to her in a while. And I wanted to tell you what her take is on this medicine. And I discussed that method as well before, but then I kind of found a different way to go about using this medicine, specifically for the last year, 2 years, even the last many months, and even now. So the name of the medicine is Eupatorium. 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 Make sure my microphone can hear me. Eupatorium. 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 The E is silent, and the second word is perfilatum. Perfilatum. Eupatorium perfilatum. It's called bone set, my friends. And the reason it's called bone set in the common vernacular is because it's a great medicine for backaches, particularly backaches that are related to that we've had for 2 years, and viruses in general. Now, whether you test positive, whether you test negative, whether you think you have it, you may not have it, whatever it may be, this is often the medicine that we use. Now, I want to show you something. I'm going to get out my repertory. This is Robin Murphy's repertory. It's a masterpiece. Don't mind all my mess here. I even have a remedy here holding my space. And actually, that space that I'm holding was I looked up influenza. And so I look it up in here, and I look under clinical, and that is right here. And as you can see, these are all the medicines for around influenza. Now, this book does not have sentences in it, does not have paragraphs. All it is in a repertory is a listing of the conditions, the symptoms, and the associated medicines, and categorized. So when I look under influenza, we have, I'm going to say maybe 80 medicines. I'm going to point it out to you one more time so that you can see it really well. It's right here. Okay. Now, if you look under, there's some that are bold. And the bold medicines are the ones that we consider first. And the most important in this category is gelsemium. Now, we're not talking about gelsemium tonight. We're talking about Euphatorium. But gelsemium is often the medicine I like to start with when someone comes down with or something like that. A cold, a flu, a virus, a sinus infection, a sore throat, chest, cold, fatigue, fever, rigors. And then what we do is we go to the medicine that fits it most closely. And it's often aconitum, and I've talked about this many times. Aconitum 200 with Bryonia 30. I love that combination. It's a Banerjee protocol, aconitum 200 mixed with Bryonia. And I love that medicine because it is very, we can use Bryonia, or we can also use gelsemium, but I like to use it in Bryonia. And we use it 2-3 times a day, sometimes every 15 minutes. It's very severe. And that's in the very beginning. But I'm finding more often than not that this medicine, Euphatorium, is working across the board. Now, the way that I've been using this is Euphatorium1m. Now, why do I use Euphatorium1m? Well, because my dear friend, Joe de Lavera, Joe Pathy in Sri Lanka, has found that by using it in a factory for, I think it was 1,200, 1,300 factory workers, it worked beautifully. None of them called in sick in the last, I believe, year and a half. And so because of that, that to me is clinical evidence that we need to start looking at this medicine, Euphatorium. Again, aconitum 200, Bryonia 30 is a good way to start, but I'm finding that Euphatorium is even better. So we're going to go through my Materia Medica as we have been doing for the last few years. And this is what it looks like. Should you be interested, you can order it on my site or contact my office. But if you don't have it, that's okay. You can join in, you can stay with us. And I'm going to read from my book, and then I'm going to flesh it out even a little bit further. It's called Bone Set, and sore bones and restlessness, but particularly for the flu. And although there are many remedies to consider for influenza, Euphatorium is one that has been consistently steady throughout the centuries. When someone has a flu that is accompanied by coryza, runny nose, with sneezing, and the symptoms are worse at night, then that this might be the remedy to consider. The bones and muscles, not just the bones and muscles are sore and may be accompanied by chronic loose cough and hoarseness. Sometimes the chest feels numb and the person must physically hold the chest with his hands to support the lungs while coughing. This is a prime medicine to consider for dengue fever, but also for what we've been dealing with for the last 2+ years, my friends. So this is a very interesting medicine. I used to collect it on my property. It used to grow wild in New York State, and I made it into tinctures, and it was excellent as a tincture. Now, the reason I'm going over this again, even though I taught this medicine some time ago, actually, it was 2 years ago I taught this in this right on Monday nights. But the reason I thought I'd bring it up again is because Joe Pathy uses it in a 1M. He's my, as I said, a colleague, friend of mine. We meet. We were meeting every week. We still meet frequently, and I like to hear the numbers of people that he's using this for in Sri Lanka and in India. And in my experience for the last 2 years, I find this medicine has been very valuable. And I'll tell you how I used it originally. Originally, I used it Eupatorium in mother tincture, the way I used to collect it from my own property. And then I started to use it in a 200. And then I started to use it in a 1M. And I've gone back and forth a few times, kind of using what's been working best, what reports I'm getting from other homeopaths, such as Joe de Oliveira, etc., what I'm reading from my colleagues, etc. And so I settled on Eupatorium 1M once per day as a prophylactic when it truly is a concern. Or once someone gets ill, then we use Eupatorium 1M perhaps every 4 hours. And then as they improve, then it's not used as frequently. Now, when I had, or whatever it was, we don't know, do we? Do we know what people really have had the last couple years? Something rotten in the state of Denmark, I might say. So we don't know whether or not we even trust those tests. So whether you've had a test or not had one, as I just said a moment ago, if you're sick with influenza, if you're sick with a virus, with a cold, etc., whatever it might be called, this variant, that variant, whatever it might be, this is the medicine that I have found to be very, very useful in my practice, personally for myself, my family. Joe Pathy's been using, and I've been teaching it to my students, and they come back and report to me their results. Now, it's not perfect, and I will tell you that when I got sick a few months ago, it took 3 full days of taking this every 3 hours, and then I was over it. So don't expect homeopathic medicines to act instantly. They often can, especially if you get stung by a bee or someone falls and a hematoma is developing. You can see these medicines work, not this particular one, other homeopathic medicines work very effectively and very quickly. For this, it seems to take every 4 hours for a few days, and then time passes and it pretty much is over with. Now, let's say someone feels better, they're back to work, but now they have fatigue. So with that fatigue that remains, or the sense of smell that is compromised, or a cough remains, or any residual conditions, we are going to use this medicine until it's done. Or if we say, I'm better, I don't think I need it anymore. And that's how this works. When someone improves, then we stop the use of the medicine. And then we allow the person to just kind of observe what's going on and carry on. But if we find that it comes back again 2 days later, oh no, and this is what I hear, oh no, it's back again. No, don't think that way. Don't think that way. Instead, I want you to think this way. Oh, yay, it's the symptoms have returned. And why am I celebrating that? Because it's an opportunity to use the medicines, to use this eupatorium again. Because you should not use a medicine when it's not called for, a homeopathic medicine, but you should when it is. And when it is, it doesn't just treat this particular condition, it often goes deeper and helps shore up the person much more fully. So, we are talking about Eupatorium perfoliatum, and it is little purple flowers that grow wild in at least in the northern areas of the U.S. and I'm sure Canada. The pain can be aching, and it can be also for malaria, for flus. Hold on to these medicines. Hold on to this knowledge. Own this medicine in the mother tincture, as I said, and in the 1M. And I would also own it in a 200C. Now, I talked to my friend in India today, and she uses it in the mother tincture. And my guess is she uses it probably a couple times a day when someone is ill. And she also includes belladonna 3. Belladonna 3 during the illness. Belladonna is very good for infections, for fevers, for rigors. You know what rigors is? Do you folks know what rigors means? I'll see if I get some responses here. It's interesting. I'm not seeing the responses as readily as I had hoped that I would. And so if Perry's around, maybe you could come in and help me, because they are being not all included as much as I would like them to be, both in Mighty's and in Facebook. So rigors, you bet, rigors. It's such a great word, and it's really interesting to learn what rigors means. I love these old. Where do you want me to click?
On your video.
Yeah, it's here too. Don't have anything coming in here. In Mighty's and there we go. So that's okay. And so rigors is when someone is and they start shaking and shivering. It's a very unpleasant sensation. And it's when the temperature is rising, their temperature is rising, and they're getting into a pretty high fever. And it's usually has to do with the speed. There. Now this one who needs it. Yeah, right here.
Right there. Audience.
And so that then that will stop. The shaking stops once the temperature reaches a certain level, and then we find that it calms down, and now the temperature starts to back off a little bit. And they're episodic. These rigors. You see a cluster of this kind of sensation, and then another cluster going back down again. Rigors, cold with shivering, accompanied by a rise in temperature. Yes, you've got it. Often with cold. Yep. Okay. And back to audience again. Okay. And yes, that's right. So viral instances, but no simple cold types. Yes, colds. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. For colds, because colds are viruses, of course. So colds, flu, what feels like a flu. Just know that what feels like a flu is when you would use this. Belladonna 3. Yes, ma'am. Belladonna 3. Shivering. And the Banerjee protocol worked for me when we had sudden onset with rigor. That's it. You've got it. That's the way it works. And I also find that this medicine, as I said, is great for when we use it prophylactically. And that's what we can use it in mother tincture, 1 dose a day. We can use it in 200 potency once a day. We can use it in 1m. I know that sounds blasphemous, doesn't it? But it is not. It is an excellent way to protect against getting a virus. Now, let me also tell you, don't worry. Stop worrying about getting this virus, or any virus for that matter. We are supposed to get sick. We're supposed to get viruses. Now, I understand when someone is compromised, highly compromised, but it is important. I always say this: when children are young, we want them to get their colds, their flus, their chickenpox. That's part of their education. That's part of growing up. We need them to educate. We have to educate their immune system so that when they get older, they don't get chickenpox when they're 40. That's really hard. But if you get chickenpox when you're 6, it's easy and the immunity is developed. Okay. Viral instances, but okay, that is what you asked. Yeah, I think I answered. The Banerjee protocol for me, and for severe headache symptoms, a lot of people experiencing. If there's a headache, then we and it's part of this, by all means, absolutely. Now, belladonna is a great medicine for headaches, by the way. Yes, we can use the Euphatorium in a wet dose. I like the way that is done that is recommended by Joe De Oliveira. How long can you take 1m prophylactically? Well, so that's what I'm getting at. I don't want people to be so worried that they want to take it forever. That is you don't want to take any homeopathic medicine that's supposed to prevent an acute condition for a very long period of time. So we used aconite and bryona and got the virus. I think we had so much pain, bone pain, head pain. How high and how often should we have taken the Euphatorium? Every 3 to 4 hours. Yep. You can buy it in liquid or pellets. You're absolutely right. Let's see. Okay. Let's see if we have any more questions here. How does the clinical or general sections in the repertories differ from the specific body area sections? For example, why not look under back instead of clinical? Because we're assuming that this is, if it's a flu, if it's only a back condition, then that's what we're going to use. If it's a flu or a cold or a virus or whatever it might be, but it feels like you've come down with something, you're going to look at what it is. What is the hierarchy of conditions? And the hierarchy is even though the back may be very painful. Okay. Let's see what else we've got here. Yes, that's right. I did it in April again. And I want to tell you time and again about this medicine because people need to share this. You need to own a number of bottles of this so that you can give it to neighbors. Obviously, now the science has changed. Isn't it fascinating? Are we talking about medical science, my friends, or political science? But you're going to need this time and again. I guarantee it. And so it's really important that you have this medicine on hand. Let's see what else we've got. More questions. Yes, belladonna 3 with the Euphatorium, not necessarily at the same moment, but certainly in the same schedule. So within minutes of each other. It certainly could be used that way. Yes, it's used right along with it. Belladonna 3 helped me with my headache. We had that accompanied the virus. So that's exactly what someone just asked about. What about headache? If the headache is occurring during the time of a virus, then that's going to be a great combination. Let's see. Euphatorium1m for long-lasting symptoms following the active infection. Yes. Yeah, once a day. If the symptoms remain and they're quite noteworthy or keeping the person from being able to live their lives properly, then by all means, you're going to use it more often than that. You're going to use it every 4 hours. Exhaustion, sensitive to cold, lingering cough, very low mood. We are about 2 to 3 weeks in. Still good to take the remedy. Still good to take remedies after the onset. There's no doubt. There's no reason why we wouldn't use these medicines. They are still of value. We want to still continue. And now low mood. Euphatorium is not the first medicine I think of for a low mood. But if you look on my blog and look under depression, because depression is super common, my friends, with flus, especially after a flu, towards the tail end and after a virus. It's super common. So don't think that this is just you. It is what we often see, and also exhaustion, sensitive to cold, lingering cough. Yes, yeah, all that. So we can also talk about a remedy such as aurum metallicum for the low mood. Ignatia, both of those would be a 200. Had it a year ago, and my sense of smell is still off. I've written a blog on that, so take a look at that. You'll find it on there. If you do Joette Calabrese, might be under sense of smell. Okay. Let's see what else we've got. What about ear infections from the sinuses? Well, if it's an ear infection that is unrelated to this kind of sinusy, cold, flu, virusy thing, then it's going to be different and most likely. And in that case, I would do this. Joette Calabrese, ear infection. Joette Calabrese, otitis media. You will find, I've been doing this for a long time, folks. I write my blog is on every single Sunday night. I'm pretty sure I've never missed a single Sunday night. And it is there for you. And is there for you to find the answers you're looking for. So, head injury, Joette Calabrese head injury. Back pain, Joette Calabrese back pain. Look it up, and I give you the information. And I don't ask for anything in return except one thing, and that is to tell others about this. If we don't share this information with others throughout the world will run us. And as I said, there's something rotten in the state of Denmark, and only we can make that change. Us. It's time for us to take back our sovereignty. It is time for us to be able to say, no thanks. No. 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 What I do is I use homeopathy. I use common sense. I use chicken soup. I go to bed. I drink plenty of water, and I do my due diligence. That's the way we handle these kinds of illnesses. Could euphotorium be dissolved in water and taken then as liquid? Yes, it can. Absolutely. I like it purchased in liquid and then put into water, but we can do it this way as well. What if you ache all over? It's an ache all over remedy. If it's part of the virus, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I would expect that it would be, but more often than not, for many people, the pain is not just aching all over, the pain is in the back. Okay. I used aconite and bryonia when we had it. How do we know if we need that or take euphotorium? Well, I like to start with aconitum and bryonia, and I find that is a great cough remedy. And so we start with that for a few, maybe the first day or so. And if we don't see a change, or if we saw a change and then it reverts back again, then it's time for euphotorium. I wouldn't be opposed to using both euphotorium and aconitum, not at the same moment, but within the same schedule, meaning separated many minutes. All right, semium or phosphorus for fatigue. I like it. I don't generally use phosphorus fatigue. I know that it can be. I generally use gelsemium for fatigue, 200 for fatigue, plain old phosphorus. All right. I have heard that Nux vomica was the genus epidemicus for you know what. My question is there genus epidemicus? Really? I think we've seen the way we always see it. There's a flu that runs this way for some people and that way for another group of people. And I would say if there is a genus epidemicus, my aconitum, bryonia, and euphotorium. But I've also used Nux vomica, and if it fits with, say, constipation or nausea, irritability, etc., and you see anything gastrointestinal, jump on it. Then you are going to use Nux vomica. And yes, I've heard. Okay, so euphotorium1m is the baseline with symptomatic. Yes, that's very well put. Absolutely, that's the way I would do it. And if you have the same symptoms, use the same remedy. Yes, I would say that's so. But we're starting with something that we're finding is working across board for many people. How homeopathy, you can have one condition and many people are helped by it. And it's not just in epidemics. It's not just in when many people get a cold. It can be used for one medicine for all people, not all, but most people who have ear infections, for most people who have diabetes, for most people who have eczema. Isn't that interesting? It's what Dr. Samuel Hahnemann said. This is if those of you who are Hahnemannians, this is very Hahnemannian, the way that I teach this. Okay. Ignatia, good idea. Yeah, for sadness, for depression. I love that. Let's see. I used aconitum. Okay, I don't see the question here. I love the question. Oh, I see. I used aconitum bryonia when we had it. How do we know? Well, aconitum bryonia is usually a little bit more associated with the chest, lung issues. And when I was sick with this, I didn't have a cough. What I felt was compromised in the lungs. It actually felt like I had cotton in my lungs. It felt weakened there. And so that's how I discussed it a couple months ago. You love my comments on current events. You and I are on the same page with that topic. You know what, Christy? I think most of the people here are. Gelsemium is good for grief. Yes, gelsemium could be good for grief, but it's more for anxiety and fear and trepidation, anxiety about events. Ignatia is a little bit more about grief. Yes, we don't want the world running us the way it has been doing. Okay, I think friends, we are now at 8:31 Eastern Time. I'm going to dash off. I have a nice large group. For those of you who don't know anything about Gateway, do consider it. It's a great way to meet others of like minds where you online together on Zoom, you actually see each other and you study my book. And so it teaches moms, grandmothers, and anyone else who's interested to join in. And so, yeah, including Harry. All right, folks, it is wonderful to see you. And I'm going to try to figure out how I get off of this. And I must be right here. Good night, all. God bless you all.
Close out of it. In 7 minutes.